I'm joining you today very early from Delta, BC, on the traditional territory of the Musqueam and Tsawwassen First Nations. I like to begin by acknowledging and paying my respect to survivors, specifically to those athlete survivors who have come forward so that we can learn, better protect our kids, and improve our systems and processes. I admire your courage. What you experienced shouldn't have happened to you, and I'm committed to ensuring that you're supported. You know, I've come back to the position of sport minister in a time of turmoil within the Canadian sports system and, in fact, around the world. A time where trust in our sport leaders and our organizations has been challenged. Since my appointment, my reappointment, I've met with survivors, athletes, coaches, parents, advocates, NSOs, MSOs, anyone really, and everyone. You know, the need for systemic change within sport is something I've heard very clearly. Our current system isn't sufficiently protecting our kids and other participants, and it's not sufficiently holding leaders and organizations accountable. So bottom line, culture change is needed, and it's well overdue. But more positively, and at the same time, I've heard a genuine willingness to make the changes necessary and to do the hard work. And that's why I think the theme of this year's conference, your conference, Making Sport Better Together, is very much on point. What makes this conference unique is the emphasis on collaboration, on working together, researchers, practitioners, and policymakers, because we all have a role to play in ensuring that together we ask the right questions, especially the tough ones, so that we can make the lasting and effective change that our sports system needs. You know, research and evidence are at the core of SCRI's work. I'm a big fan of SCRI. No, everybody knows that. Clear research data and evidence will help shape and guide the changes we need to make. Solid research and evidence are also critical in informing government policies and decision making. You know, it's really what underpins good decisions. More than ever, the government of Canada has had to consider multiple fast-moving and far-reaching issues. We know that Canadians desire systemic change within sport, and we can't ignore the importance of responses that include data and evidence and trauma-informed processes. And we need to make some changes in our structures, in our attitudes, and we have a long way to go. But I'm so hopeful, I guess that's the word, because we've begun the process to address these issues. We now have the Office of the Sport Integrity Commissioner. 93% of funded NSOs have become abuse-free sport program signatories. We also have the Universal Code of Conduct to prevent and address maltreatment in sport, which has been adopted by all funded NSOs. And we have a complaints process, investigations, and sanctions. So we've made a start. We've really started to build the framework that we need in this country. And while all these steps are in the right direction, there's a lot more to do. And that's why discussions like the one you're having during this, the ones you're going to have today and tomorrow, are so very important. Like all of you, like everybody in that room, everybody on Zoom here, you know, I really believe that Canadians deserve a sports system that reflects and celebrates our Canadian values of equality and fairness and inclusion. I believe that Canadians deserve a sports system that is safe and responsible. And that's the system we all want for our kids. And that's why I think the Canadian sports system needs to be grounded in human rights, with human rights protections reflected in the governance and in the operation of sport. And we need to embed accountability, integrity, and safe sport into everything we do. So within all this context, my priority as sport minister is broad system-wide reform, with human rights, athletes, and safe sport at the center of sport governance and operation. I also want our system to better reflect and celebrate the diversity of our country, for traditionally underrepresented groups to have equitable access to positive sport opportunities. And I think that research and evidence are critical in our goal to increase participation in physical activity in sport. And while we know who participates most, we need more data to identify populations that don't, and that the barriers that they face and that prevent them from being included. We really need to focus on that. I can't emphasize that enough, because when I want to reach into the system, when I want to reach into our programs and our policies, and I ask for the information, the data, it's not always there. Our country and our communities are healthier and stronger when everyone has access to sport and physical activity. But how do we achieve this? I know we'll find some of those answers in the discussion you'll have during this conference, but also in our collective action and our willingness to listen. It is really a making sport better together methodology that we must apply. So over the next 2 days, you'll have the opportunity to learn from each other, to hear from a wide range of diverse voices. And it will also be a unique opportunity to connect with others in your fields. So honestly, I wish you a very successful event. Welcome back to those of you who are in person, and thank you for including us on Zoom. Challenge yourself, but be inspired. It's okay to be positive. It's okay to really hold on to all that we know is great about sport and start from there. Be courageous, and just dig in and have a really honest and candid conversation that I know will lead to great things. So thank you very much, Deborah.